The Jurassic period, a lost world of immense terrestrial power, is often defined by the thunderous footsteps of the giant sauropods and the predatory cunning of the great theropods. But along the ancient coastlines, where the land surrendered to the deep ocean, a different, equally high-stakes drama unfolded. This was the domain of the ultimate aerial hunters and the undisputed masters of the waves. It was the coastal divide, a boundary where life adapted to the sky met those engineered for the abyssal dark. Two separate dynasties, both peaking in the Jurassic, were locked in an uneasy, often violent, competition for survival. The Pterosaurs, the true rulers of the prehistoric air, were not merely glorified seabirds. Their mastery of flight allowed them to patrol the coastal shelf with an efficiency no land predator could match. They scanned the shallow, nutrient-rich waters for fish and cephalopods. Yet these fishing grounds were also the hunting territory of the most terrifying marine creatures ever to draw breath. To the Pterosaur, the water was not a friend, but a hostile mirror, reflecting the shadows of the Pliosaurs. These short-necked, massive-skulled marine reptiles were the very definition of a predatory ocean behemoth. The question for paleoecologists is not if these two worlds collided, but how they did so. How could such immense biological disparity, a feathered flyer barely 30 pounds and a reptilian submarine weighing several tons, produce any meaningful interaction, let alone conflict? The answer lies in the concept of the ecological niche. The Pterosaur lineage, from the long-tailed Rhamphorhynchus to the elegant Pterodactylus, evolved razor-focused adaptations, specialized beaks, needle-like teeth, and wings built for precision and speed. These traits made them the undisputed lords of low-altitude, high-speed fishing. For a time, the skies above the Jurassic seas belonged entirely to them. When we analyze their fossil assemblages, we uncover clear evidence of mass fish consumption, a dietary specialization that placed these flyers directly on a collision course with the marine reptile community. That same community depended on the very same coastal fishing schools. This set the stage for a conflict not waged with teeth and claws, but with cunning, speed, and strategic risk assessment. The coastal divide was a razor's edge of opportunity and death. Now, let's open the fossil record and resurrect the story of the bizarre survivors. Consider the pterosaur strategy. Their lightweight, hollow bones and membranous wings were built for sustained, low-energy flight. But their cranial structure held the true survival weapon. When we analyze the elongated skulls and fine, needle-like teeth of genera such as Pterodactylus, we find an apparatus designed not to rip or tear, but to snatch. They operated in what we might call the aerial safe zone. With precision, they struck vertically into the water column, seizing small, fast-moving fish that dared to linger too close to the surface. This technique, known as skim fishing or dip fishing, minimized their exposure to the immediate, unseen threat below. The greatest of those threats was the Pliosaur, the apex marine reptile, the leviathan of the Jurassic seas. Creatures like the colossal Pliosaurus funkei possess skulls up to 8 feet long and teeth like railroad spikes. Capable of ambushing and consuming prey the size of small whales, these reptiles ruled the Jurassic seas with brutal efficiency. Yet even giants have vulnerabilities. The Pliosaurs, for all their immense power, had a fatal blind spot: the air directly above them. Their torpedo-shaped bodies were built for streamlined propulsion and jaws engineered for crushing force, but they lacked the agility to track a target that maneuvered vertically at high speed. This disparity in mobility created a narrow but critical window of opportunity for the airborne hunters. We see this tension vividly reflected in the paleoecology of the late Jurassic Tithonian stage. Coastal currents would often drive vast schools of fish into natural bottlenecks, forcing a perilous convergence of both air and sea predators. The Pterosaurs, flying in mixed flocks, executed precision dives, a calculated risk that demanded flawless timing. They had to be fast enough to seize their meal and escape before the surface erupted, shattered by the explosive, upward surge of a hunting pliosaur. In the Solnhofen Plattenkauke of Germany, a fossil treasure trove preserving the delicate theater of Jurassic coastal life, we find a haunting clue. Pterosaur remains are rarely discovered near the great marine reptile fossil beds. This absence speaks volumes. It tells us that the flyers were acutely aware of the danger, and that survival depended on strict separation. They avoided the deeper waters, steering clear of the hunting lanes where the ocean titans ruled. But this competition wasn't always about the clash of predators. It was also about resources. The juveniles of the giant marine reptiles, the ichthyosaurs and pliosaurs, occupied the same shallows, feeding on the same fish as the pterosaurs above. They occupied the shallower, protected waters of bays and lagoons, precisely the same areas the pterosaurs used as sheltered roosting and feeding grounds. In these confined spaces, the predatory advantage was suddenly leveled. A full-grown Rhamphorhynchus, with its 5-foot wingspan and razor-edged teeth, was more than capable of viewing a juvenile marine reptile as a viable high-calorie meal. This reversal, the hunter becoming the hunted, captures the brutal, dynamic complexity of the prehistoric food web. It reminds us that nature, even in the Jurassic, exploited every weakness, every moment of vulnerability, no matter how massive the creature would one day become. The sheer speed and aerial awareness of the pterosaur made it a master of opportunity. It could strike with precision and timing, preying upon the young generations of the colossal hunters below. In doing so, it secured its own lineage while quietly thinning the ranks of the ocean's future giants. This subtle evolutionary chess match along the Jurassic coast was a study in contrasts: speed versus power, air versus water, strategy over size. Yet the true legacy of this coastal competition is not found in dramatic standoffs, but in the absence of evidence. The biomechanical gulf between these two dynasties meant their rivalry was defined by avoidance and adaptation, not open warfare. Still, the fossil record whispers fragments of this story. While no pliosaur has yet been found with a pterosaur wing bone embedded in its jaw, the evidence of competition remains unmistakable. In the Solnhofen lagoons, the preserved stomach contents of ancient pterosaurs reveal the same small fish and squid that nourished their marine rivals. Two worlds divided by an invisible line of foam and sunlight, forever locked in silent competition. These dietary remains directly match those of juvenile marine reptiles and even smaller adult ichthyosaurs. This is the subtle signature of fierce resource partitioning. Each lineage developed its own evolutionary toolkit, distinct anatomical specializations to exploit the same resource in profoundly different ways. The pterosaur evolved for speed and precision near the surface, a dancer on the wind. The marine reptile, by contrast, was the hidden hammer of the deep, built for crushing ambushes beneath the surface. When we analyze the fossilized remains of teleost fish, the shared currency of this ecosystem, we uncover a striking truth. The coastal divide was never a static border. It was a shifting front, a fiercely contested zone of density, danger, and extraordinary adaptation. In the later Cretaceous period, this ancient competition reached its evolutionary conclusion. The pterosaurs transformed into titanic forms like Quetzalcoatlus, giants of the air that abandoned the coast to hunt over the plains. Their retreat inland marked both escape and triumph, a bold redefinition of the predator's domain. Meanwhile, the great pliosaurs declined, their legacy consumed by a new dynasty, the mosasaurs, whose reign would dominate the Cretaceous seas. The initial struggle along the Jurassic coast was more than mere competition. It was a pivotal moment in evolutionary history, a crucible where sky and sea forged the limits of adaptation. Two great dynasties, born of different worlds, collided over the planet's richest feeding grounds. One lineage ascending from the trees to the heavens, the other returning to the sea's eternal depths. Their shared story reminds us of nature's deepest truth, that the fiercest conflicts are not fought in moments of violence, but in the quiet pressure of evolution itself. This relentless evolutionary pressure forced two ancient dynasties to hone their hunting skills to a breathtaking degree. The result: the most magnificent flyers and the most terrifying swimmers the world has ever known. To look upon their skeletons today is to glimpse the aftermath of that primordial arms race. The streamlined torpedo of the Pliosaur, a weapon shaped by power and precision. The impossibly delicate scaffold of the Pterosaur wing, an instrument of grace and control. Both tell the same profound story. That life, even in the most ancient worlds, was never separate. Every predator, every prey, every wing beat, and every dive was part of a single, unbroken system of survival. Each creature a masterpiece, forged in the crucible of competition.
Here, in this remarkable slab, we see two disparate creatures, a Pterodactylus.
The streamlined torpedo of the Pliosaur, and the impossibly delicate scaffold of the Pterosaur wing.
Here, preserved in
both speak to the same
detail,
profound truth.
is the dense organic
That
hardwood
life,
of a
even in these
fallen
ancient
giant.
lost worlds, is always connected. And every creature, every form, is a masterpiece, forged in the crucible of competition.